In today's fashion shoot, I am bringing out the big guns with the Canon RF 100-300 2.8 lens. Hey everybody, Lindsay Adler here, and when I go on location, I tend to gravitate towards the usual lenses. My 50 1.2, 85 1.2, maybe my 24 to 70. However, today I wanted to try something totally different and grab a lens that I typically associate with photographing sports or wildlife. I am photographing with the Canon RF 100-300 2.8 lens. One of the things I think is amazing about this lens is that it maintains that 2.8 aperture, that wide, beautiful, creamy bokeh from 100 millimeters to 300, the entire focal length. So because I don't usually shoot at focal lengths nearly as long, I wanted to try something that would really play around with compression. So we went over to Liberty State Park, so I had the beautiful New York skyline in the background, and I was set to see what exactly I could get at 300 millimeter focal length. When I was photographing, I started off far away from the subject so that I could get a full-length shot with the city soft and blurry behind her. So as I backed up to do my first shots, I was thinking that I would for sure need a tripod or a monopod because this is not a light lens. It's 5.8 pounds, which for the type of lens it is super light, but I'm a little bit of a diva, not used to carrying heavy equipment. However, once I braced the bottom of the lens and I turned on the image stabilization, I felt good to go. I'm a much more active photographer. I like to get different angles and run around. So I find that sometimes a monopod or tripod slows me down. So I loved having the stability that the IS allowed me. It has about 5.5 stops of optical image stabilization. Now, of course, I set my camera to 2.8 because the entire purpose of the shot is I wanted to see how much I could blur out the background, and it was gorgeous. Now, I didn't add any additional lights to the scene. I only used the ambient light. It's a little bit later in the day, and so I got these beautiful hard lights on her jawline that really carved it out, gave me definition. And as I posed the model, I was playing around with the different shadows and highlights. At times, I had her cover her eyes to create interesting shadows or turn to the side to really emphasize her jaw. So I began with the shots that I usually can't capture with the gear that I shoot. So those really long focal lengths, wide open, compressing against the city. But then I wanted to see what other variations I could get. So I came closer to my subject and I was focusing for like a mid-length shot. And then I kept coming closer and closer, and I was mind blown at how close the minimum focus distance was. I could shoot tight shots on my subject, like head and shoulders beauty shots, which I was amazed. And of course, because it's an RF lens, it is razor sharp, and it has 5.5 stops of image stabilization. Now, I was only shooting for probably 5-10 minutes, and so even though it is a heavier lens, I was doing totally fine. But one of the things I liked about this lens is that it has a lens collar. So I can mount this to a monopod or tripod, and then I can change my composition quickly and maintain a nice, stable image, taking a lot of weight off of me, especially if I'm shooting for a long day. I would definitely grab a monopod. All right, so let's talk a little bit about my camera and camera settings. For these images, I shot with the Canon R5, and I turned on face and eye tracking, which finds the subject's face and then focuses on the eye closest to camera. Now, for a majority of my images, I was shooting from far away, full length, so it was just finding the subject's face. But when I came closer and I was getting those really tight headshots, it was focusing on that eye. Because I'm at 2.8, narrow depth of field, long focal lengths, I have a very, very narrow depth of field, so I knew that face and eye tracking was going to be essential. I love the images that I captured in this shoot. I love the compression. I love the narrow depth of field. I love the unusual angle. But the question is, would I add this lens to my fashion kit? And the answer is probably not, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't rent it for the right equation. I find that I tend to lean towards the same focal lengths and the same lenses over and over again, and that means that sometimes I might miss an opportunity to create something that looks totally different than the images in my portfolio. So if you guys want to see the gear used in the making of today's photographs, be sure to check out the links in the description below and visit Adorama.com. And of course, if you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to like and subscribe. See you guys next time.